Hello and welcome to Westcountry Wanderings. Welcome to another monthly vlog for the month of April 2025. Where are we today? Well, we're in a village today. We're in a village in South Gloucestershire. This village used to be in the county of Avon, and before that it was in the county of Gloucestershire, but it still lies in part of ceremonial Gloucestershire. But in fact, we're close, very close in fact, to the city of Bristol. It's only about 4 or 5 miles away from where I'm currently standing, the heart of Bristol. So we're in the village of Frenchay, which we have been to before. Last summer I came here to attend a very special event. I came to Frenchay Flower Show. Obviously I couldn't do anything like this then because there was lots of people here, but that was a fantastic flower show. Lots of things going on there with little of those steam engines, looking around the flowers there and seeing all the people here attending the event from all around the wider Bristol and Gloucestershire and Somerset areas. Frenchay sits above the River Frome, which is just over there. Now that land over there I do believe is owned by the National Trust. We'll go over that where there's a woodland. It takes you down to the River Frome. We'll have a look at that, the beautiful Frome Valley, so we'll have a look at that. Other places near here, well, the larger town of Filton, which you're probably familiar with, of course, from British Aerospace, Concord and all that, is about 3 or 4 miles away, slightly to the northwest, yes, northwest of where I'm currently standing. You've got a larger town, of course, in South Gloucestershire of Yate, further up that way, and down that way you've got another big South Gloucestershire town, and that is of Kingswood. So we've got those places. In terms of Bristol, we've got places like Stapleton and Eastville, I think, which are also fairly close by, M4 to the north of us here. But it's actually on the main road between here and Wootton Under Edge, which is the way I came in today. So it was a continuous road from Wootton Edge right here to Frenchay. The other thing that Frenchay is probably most famous for is its hospital, which actually closed about 10 years ago now, 2014. It was developed or extended during the Second World War. There was lots of kind of prefabricated huts, if you remember that, and it had an A&E department as well, which was much loved. Sadly, that all closed in 2014, and the site is now being completely redeveloped, although it's still fundamentally still a park, and they built new housing there as well. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the village here in Frenchay. There's got quite a bit of history, and several famous people came from this village as well, so I'll tell you about that, as well as around everything that's been happening on the channel for the month of April, and reading out the very, very best of your comments, and also looking forward to what's going to be happening in May on the channel here on Westcountry Wanderings. Now the name Frenchay originates back in the 11th, 12th century from Fromscore, which then came Fromeshaw, and that means the wood on the River Frome, which I say is just down there in the Frome Valley. Now in terms of pronunciation of Frome, there's various different ways. There is another Frome, well there's several Fromes, isn't there? There's one we came across the other day in Dorchester in Dorset, and there's another one in Stroud, which we did on the Cotswold walk, which is just a little bit also in the ceremonial county of Gloucestershire, of course. The one in Stroud tends to be pronounced Frome, although some people still pronounce it Frome, and I'm not sure how this one's pronounced. Is it Frome or something else? Please drop your thoughts in comments below. There doesn't seem to be a consensus of agreement though, but Frome, whichever way you pronounce it, it's still a beautiful river passing through some glorious countryside here just on the outer reaches of the fantastic city of Bristol, which is just, well, it's amazing Bristol, because you go just half a mile away and you find something completely different. It changes so much. You've got all these amazing communities, and it's got a great creative element to it. So it's great to be back here in this area as well. So in terms of videos, there was some about 10 or 11 videos. The reason I hesitate on that is because one, I'm going to read out something from the monthly vlog last month, and also there was an additional one which was just celebrating Easter, which it was a weird one, that one, because the Easter greeting one was actually the most viewed video in the entire month, and it was the easiest one to do. I was actually filming something else. I was filming I think it was the North Wilts Canal, and I stopped off a little village in Wiltshire called Minty, and stopped there to film the beautiful churchyard there. Got some B-roll with some scenes. I think the whole thing was done and dusted in about 30 or 40 minutes, and it took me about 30 minutes to edit, so about an hour and a half. That was the most viewed video for this month, and it's had incredibly some 12,000 views, which is my most viewed video ever. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea why. YouTube is a very, very strange thing at times. But thank you if you watched any of my videos this month, including this one, or if you watched any of the other videos, or indeed all of them. I know some of you watch all the videos. I really, really appreciate that. So let's have a look at some other bits and pieces here in the village of Frenchay. Now, in terms of green space, there's several elements to the village of Frenchay. That there is the heart of the village, and I'll show you some photographs, and we'll have a little bit of a tour around the heart of the village, and I'll take you over to the main church. In my village, well, in my video, should I say, when I was here doing the flower show, we had a look at the Quaker meeting house, one of the oldest Quaker meeting houses in the country, and they had an open day when they had the flower show on. And a lot of the large houses in the village are wealthy merchants' houses, not least of which of the family Fry, and some other families which we'll come on to as well. Famous, of course, for Fry's chocolate. Yes, that famous Bristol chocolate company, which was amalgamated, but I think they still market it as Fry's, is it that mint one, mint cream chocolate? I think that's still going. And yeah, so that kind of amalgamated. I think then Cadbury's took it over. Yeah, but Fry's here in Bristol, but wealthy merchants here. There's huge houses. The size of the houses here are just incredible. They're off the scale compared to everything else. So we have the common here, which is what I'm on now. That over there is the village centre. Where the church is, there's a village green there, and then you have the woodland, and then you have the valley down towards the River Frome. So there's a lot of green space around the village, which is fantastic to see. And it's really hard at this point, and I'm looking down at a farm down in the valley there, to realise just how close you are to the city centre of Bristol. As I say, it's literally 4 or 5 miles away on a bike, on a cycle path. You could be there in the centre of Bristol in minutes. But yeah, it's amazing, and I was blown away it was the first time I'd ever been here when I'd been to the flower show, and I was blown away. So I thought I really need to bring you back here again. Well, the bird song here in the Frome Valley is just absolutely joyous. I've come under this fantastic old oak tree. I'm not sure if it's a Pendulclet or Cecil oak though, but it's now come out in flower and into full leaf, which is a great thing to see. Now, the first video I want to talk about in the month was actually arrived just at the end of last month. It was last month's monthly vlog, which came from the beautiful Somerset village of Wadham, and I had a comment on that from Caroline. Hi Caroline. And she writes that her godfather lived in the village for many, many years, and he was in fact the church warden there in Wadham. Wadham is just beautiful. Thanks very much for that comment there, Caroline. And I just love visiting Wadham. I'd never been there before, and that's what the joy of doing this channel. I get to see lots of different places across the wider West Country, many of which I'm not familiar with at all. And to that end, if you would like to recommend a place that would be suitable for doing a monthly vlog for me in the future, and I tend to do them more to the northern part of the region. The reason for that is because I live in Gloucestershire, and I tend to do a monthly vlog away from home rather than actually staying away. So places further into Cornwall and the farther parts like West Devon and into Dorset take a bit further for me to get to. So I tend to do them in Herefordshire, Worcestershire, Gloucestershire, here around Bristol area, Bath, Somerset and Wiltshire, those type of areas. But if you can recommend or a village or a place I could come to for a monthly vlog, then you'll get mentioned on that, and it'll be your recommendation. And indeed any other places that I've not yet featured. Now, I am acutely aware there are loads and loads of places in the West Country that I have not yet been to. I'm very conscious there's lots of places in North Devon I've not been to yet, and lots of places in West Cornwall I've not been to yet, including some real prominent ones like Penzance and Falmouth, and the other side of Penzance down to Land's End, or the coastline around there, St Just, places like that. There's heaps of them. I haven't been to Ilfracombe or Bideford yet. I am aware of all of those things, and I do want to visit them as well. But if you've got any specific recommendations, I'll do my very, very best to visit them. So I look forward to your comments on that. The next video for this month of April was Barnstaple. So talking about North Devon, I did try and rectify and get over to Barnstaple. I was actually weirdly staying in Cornwall when I did that video. I was staying in Cornwall and I went to caught the train to Barnstaple. A line I'd never been on before, up to Barnstaple from Exeter St David's. It's a fantastic and really quite beautiful line. It was more beautiful than I thought it would be. And a great comment on that video from David Bellani, who lives in Spain. I hope you're okay with the power cuts now, Dave. I heard yesterday that there was complete power outage there in Spain, so hopefully you've got your power back on again now. Another West Country town and another favourite locomotive of mine, this time Barnstaple. The West Country class, well, that's appropriate for the channel, isn't it? That I have in my collection of model railways. My ears pricked up when you mentioned shipbuilding and Aberdour. Until recently, the main shipbuilder was Harland and Wolff, and the company was bought by Spanish state builder Navantia. Thank you very much for that informative comment there, David. And yes, I really did enjoy my visit to Barnstaple. I had been there before. We cut it on a fantastic, beautiful today, not unlike today here. So we had a good tour around the town there, looking at the River Tour, bits and pieces of the one of the old railway stations that's sadly no longer used. That was called Barnstaple Town. I do hope to, on a future Lost Railway walk though, have a look at walking a section of it out towards Braunton, and indeed up to Ilfracombe as well. So hopefully that happens. Thanks, David. Cheers. Well, I've now come down off Frenchay Moor, as I say, it belongs to the National Trust, to this beautiful and important bridge, and there's a reason why it's important. That there is the River Frome, or Frome if you prefer, and this road here connects the villages of Frenchay to Downend. So as soon as you go over that bridge, it takes you into the city of Bristol, so that's the county border between the ceremonial county of Gloucestershire and into the city of Bristol. Now, Downend was the birthplace of one of Frenchay's famous residents, namely W.G. Grace. And if you know your cricket, you will know that name. Probably the most famous cricketer of all time. And he played here on the village green here in Frenchay before he went on to bigger and better things, the Marlborough Cricket Club and lots of other clubs, some of which still exist, some which don't. He became world famous in terms of cricketers, and he was a very, very famous person from Frenchay indeed. As I say, he was born there to, I think, to quite a wealthy family in Downend. Downend at that time was very much a rural village. It's not now, it's now effectively a suburb of Bristol, and it's built up rather a lot, and the new housing estates in the Second World War and that. But at that time it was a very rural village. But he lived in Frenchay and obviously played for cricket, which is an important part of Frenchay life. Now, the main Church of England, Anglican church here, is St John the Baptist, right in the heart of the village, and it was built in 1834 by John Rumley. It has a castellated spire tower. That's a really interesting feature, and it looks a stunning church. It's almost like a town-sized church for this village here in South Gloucestershire. That's not the only religious building here, because you also have the renowned Unitarian chapel, which I also went to when I was doing my flower show video here from Frenchay. And that's a very, very popular chapel, Unitarian, as in multi-Christian faiths chapel there. Just amazing place, wonderful sense of community there as well. In fact, you get a whole real sense of community, very friendly village here in Frenchay, a wonderful place. Now, I do an occasional series entitled Gloucestershire and South Gloucestershire Railway Discoveries, and in this month of April, part 7 of that arrived, and that all was kind of happenstance, one of those looking at maps things and looking and delving into the details, looking at why there's this abandoned viaduct across a very minor road in Gloucestershire in what appears to be the middle of nowhere. Now, there is a village of Purton, but it actually staggers the River Severn. It's on both sides of Sabrina. I'm never quite sure which one came first. There's one close to the village dock of Sharpness and one on the other side close to Lydney. And it was to the one close to Lydney that we had our attention, because that originally would have been a railway which would have gone on to become the first railway bridge across the River Severn. Amazing, way back in 1830, way before all of the others that followed. I had a great comment on that video, this time from Michael Miller. That's absolutely fascinating. An unbuilt railway, and so early in time too. It certainly was, Michael, thank you. And also a great comment from Patrick, who runs a wonderful, I can't recommend this highly enough. If you like my walking videos, you'll love the Solitary Rambler. I walked around there last year, and as part of my research, I was quite taken aback that the bridge was constructed so early, but no railway ever went across it. I'm glad you found the wrong Severn-way footpath sign too. Thank you, Patrick. And I'll leave a link to Patrick's brilliant channel in the video. Just come back into the woodland again. Hear that wonderful bird song there. I think that's a blackbird above us somewhere, surrounded by bluebells here, just on the edge of Frenchay Moor and the edge of the village green as well, which we'll go over to shortly. The Wadham family were prominent in Frenchay, and they were the ones that set up the village cricket team before W.G. Grace arrived from the other side, River Froome there, Darren end. And they went on to, well, found, one of them, called John, I believe, found Bristol blue glass, which was manufactured at Temple Gate in the heart of the city. I think they've still got a shop, actually. Still some manufacturing goes on. It's much sought after, Bristol blue glass, isn't it? Just absolutely stunning, and one of the real things that, along with the sherry, that pins down Bristol in terms of its trading with the outside world and what people came to see. Well, that gentleman, John Wadham, he had a son, and his son was called Thomas. So if you follow this, he became Sheriff of Bristol. And Thomas, so John's grandson, and Thomas had a son too. So John's grandson had a son called Edward. And Edward Wadham went on to become a prominent engineer, civil engineer, working with no less, yes, you guessed it, one Isambard Kingdom Brunel on various projects, including his shipbuilding as well as the railways, of course. But so the Wadham family here from the amazing village of Frenchay here in South Gloucestershire. Now, once a month I like to do a Cotswold walk. Number 20 line arrived. Hopefully there'll be one in May coming up soon, perhaps. Next one I hope to do it as a one looking at Cotswold walk without a car, so try and get there via train or bus or train and bus, that sort of thing, we have done previously. So because last one, no way could you get there by public transport, and that was the village of Mizzerdon in Gloucestershire, same Sarum County as where we are now, walking over to Edgeworth, a village I'd not been to previously, going through Mizzerdon Park and having a look at the castle there, remains of the castle, and that stunning lake in the park there. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, very, very quiet, peaceful location. And there I had a comment from Malcolm Richardson. Extraordinarily beautiful valley. How wonderful to live in one of those houses with a grandstand view of those deer. Yeah, there was some fantastic deer that were running past in front of, I think it was called Valley Farm. Just one of those things you just cannot plan for. I think I'm being outdone by the bird song here at the moment. They seem to be getting louder. You know these city types. Donna also commented. Donna runs a great channel over there in Canada on the other side of the Atlantic. I enjoyed seeing it, the countryside, especially that curving road, so picturesque. Yes, it kind of did that through the estate there. It's lovely to see everything greening up so nicely. The herd deer was so surprising, so beautiful to see them. It certainly was, Donna. Thanks very much for your comment too. And another series I like to run on the channel is my Lost Railway walks. Now, sometimes these are, I try and have to do them as a discovery sometimes, because you can't walk them in a linear fashion. There's no right of way of lots of our Lost Railway walks, although some of them are being reopened as both footpaths and cycleways, which is the ones I concentrate on that strand here on the channel. And this time, instead of deep in the countryside, I went to a city of Hereford, which is actually west of the city of Bristol. Some people are always surprised that, yeah, Hereford's west of the city of Bristol, but obviously north of where we currently are. And that had, well, many railway lines, including many railway stations. It only has one railway line, one main line now, and the line that curves off towards Worcester via Malvern. But it had a lot more, and particularly ones going into Mid and South Wales. And I thought I'd look at a couple of lines in Hereford there, also looking at part of the former Bulmer Railway Centre. Great comment on that from a gentleman, well, the nomenclature for the channel is Steve-UTNBG. The preserved railway group that was based at Bulmers moved out to Moreton Business Park near Moreton on Lug, which is just to the north of Hereford on the A49 on the Shrewsbury Road, and known as the D2578 Locomotive Group. They are located in a secure business park which is not open to the public. However, organised visits can be arranged for brake van rides and the extensive rail network, and you can also visit it if you're a member of the Branch Line Society. Thank you very much for that comment, Steve. That looks a great place to visit. I have checked out, following your comment, a couple of clips on good old YouTube there of the rides going around there. It looks an amazing place. I think they've got a quarry there. There's some sidings and there's some extraction that feeds out onto the Welsh Marches line. So thanks very much for that. Now, as you know, if you're a regular viewer, I like to do short bites, so I like to mix the content up with longer form videos and shorter ones. Sometimes the photography, they're sometimes just doing video clips around a particular place. And I went to Uffington not only to visit part of the Wilson Berks Canal, but also to visit the town of Faringdon in Oxfordshire. Wonderful town with an amazing folly on the top of the hill there. And a great comment on that from Louise, who runs a channel called South West Sundays. Now, I actually have done a collab with Louise recently, and we did a walk from Bridgewater in Somerset to the county town of Taunton in Somerset, some 14.5 miles long, following the Bridgewater and Taunton Canal. Now, Louise has put her video out about that collab that we did. I've still got mine to edit, but it should be landing hopefully in the next few days. It was a most enjoyable day. Anyway, I digress. Louise writes about Faringdon video. What a lovely place, and a very peaceful video. I really like the eccentric things. Yeah, thanks, Louise. There was an eccentric guy that lived in Faringdon Park, not as in a country estate, but basically a large posh stately home. And he invited all the great and good there. He was a very eccentric guy, and he had this folly built for no other reason that he just wanted it built. It doesn't serve any purpose, and I think it's actually the last folly to ever be built in England. The other thing I want to mention, back to Louise's channel, Louise has actually just come back from a visit from New England, specifically Massachusetts, and while she was over there, she was visiting all the places that have the same place name as places in the county of Somerset here in England in the West Country. So that was brilliant. She's done 2 videos on that. I think she's got a couple more to edit, but that's fascinating. She looked at Bridgewater is one of them, the River Taunton, and also the town of Wellington. They've opened a new railway line there in New England as well. So well worth a look at that, and I'll link to one of those videos at the end of today's videos. Thank you, Louise. Well, I've now moved off the moor and away from Frome Valley to here, which I think is either known as the Village Green or the Common. So we're right next to the church I spoke about, the main church here, but we're also opposite the Unitary Chapel. But you can see the amazing buildings that surround the green here, testament to the wealth, of course, that was once in this local area. Well, I'm now outside St John the Baptist Church here on Frenchay on the Village Green or Common, whichever one you prefer. Doesn't seem to be any consensus or agreement, but if you live locally, I'm sure you'll be able to drop a comment just to clarify that. Always great to hear from local residents when I do these monthly vlogs, and it's an absolute pleasure and delight filming here in Frenchay today, here in South Gloucestershire. It's a beautiful day. Actually, it's going to be forecast probably to be the warmest day of the year so far. It's going to be getting up to 25, 26 degrees, which is might have been filming earlier this morning, and it's coming up to midday, so I'll be finishing the video shortly and heading back home, and probably putting the AC on my car. Now, it's always good to get down onto the coast. Running a channel called Westcountry Wanderings, we need to feature the coast in it, although I don't feature the coast as much as I would like. Living in Gloucestershire, it's a bit further to get to the coast, basically. Obviously, we have coast in Somerset, Devon, Cornwall and Dorset. And it was to East Devon that I went to in my next video, called Sauntering Around Sidmouth, that beautiful, beautiful town of Sidmouth there in East Devon. That was a joyous video. I caught the train down to Exeter and then another train along to Honiton on the line to London Waterloo, getting a bus down in the town. Glad I did that actually, because the town was very, very busy. I think it does suffer with traffic problems and congestion. It was still kind of Easter holidays and it was a most beautiful day. Oh boy, did I enjoy that walk. I walked over to Jacob's Ladder. Now there seems to be a little confusion of which bit is called Jacob's Ladder. Digging into the archives, it was originally an ancient trackway, stone trackway, which went up to the top of the hill where you've got, is it called, the Coombe or the Grange? There was an old hotel there which fell into disrepair, but the gardens are still there. And the steps there, part of the steps collapsed. They did use it, using one of those divots to bring up the stone there. In 1870, the Victorians built some iron steps just a little bit further around the side of that promontory that sticks out over the beach there at Sidmouth, and that was replaced again, I think, towards the end of the 19th century. Very popular. And so it's not sure, is the original steps called Jacob's Ladder or the Victorian version of Jacob's Ladder? Well, I'm not too sure. Nobody seems to agree on that one, but it caused a little bit of debate on the comments anyway. Either way, the metal one was actually closed when I was there because they got some corrosion issues and they were sorting it out, but hopefully that should be reopened again. It wasn't too serious, but you can imagine it being so close to the sea there. It's getting the full pelt of the salt water on it. The views from the top of there, absolutely delightful. What a stunning place it is. And then you've got all the gardens, you've got the town itself, which has a great range of independent shops there. And then I walked up onto Salcombe Hill, nothing to do with the one in South Hams, but Salcombe Hill there, which has a donkey sanctuary. I didn't have time to feature that, but I have been there previously, so I'm aware of it, but maybe we'll feature that on a future one. But I did manage to get to the observatory there, so it's well worth a lot. If you've got, you're feeling quite energetic, it is quite a steep hill. You walk up some beautiful, beautiful woodland and you get to the Norman Lockyer Observatory. Anyway, I had some great comments on that video. It provoked a good reaction. It's doing really well on the views as well. One from Diana. Hi Donna, great to hear from you again. This is one of my favourite places to visit. Yes, me too. They have used this town for an episode of Miss Marple. Yes, I can imagine that, because it's just so, well, it's like those Regency buildings. They look very, very photogenic, don't they, on those costume dramas there. Good old detective series there. Honiton always claims that lace as its own. But Beer, which is a village in East Devon, gets very annoyed as the famous lace was made there in the little cottages. Well, that's a brilliant comment there, Donna. I was not aware of that. I had been to Honiton's great museum there, which you have got some ladies there who are actually making lace in that museum. If you pick it on a certain day, you can see them doing that very thing, which is really, really interesting. But wasn't aware it was made in nearby Beer. Beer is another place I've yet to visit, and so hopefully one I will do maybe later on this year. The next video was one in my railway series, and it was a full-on look at some steam train action, which is always popular on the channel. This time, Severn Valley Railway Spring Gala. I went up there early on a Saturday morning, got there was no other photographers there, at a place called Dropping Wells, which is a Worcestershire Wildlife Trust nature reserve, right next to the tracks there between the towns of Bewdley and Kidderminster. Oh boy, just like train after train after train, steam train. It was fantastic. I just absolutely loved it. So I was there for about 5 or 6 hours filming the steam trains. I would like to have been there long. I could have been there all day actually, but I had to get the video to get it home to edit it so I could get it out for the next day. But yeah, I digress. There's so much there. I can't highly recommend the Severn Valley Railway, and I'm sure if you're into railways, you'll know it. You'll know it is one of the very, very best, along with the Gloucestershire Warwickshire Steam Railway. They're probably the two finest heritage line. Well, I'm probably a little bit biased because they're both fairly close to where I live, and also both in the area that I cover. But yeah, they are absolutely fantastic. And they also have a great range of both locomotives that they've got under their own wing and ones that they have visit for various galas. I had a great comment on that video from Malcolm Richardson. Thanks for the images on the Severn Valley Railway. Hopefully it will soon be running the full length back to Bridgnorth in Shropshire again on this most marvellous railway. Thanks very much for that, Malcolm. Now, canals are always popular on my channel, and indeed back in the early days of the channel it was the restoration of the Ocean Bridge, a railway bridge on the Stroudwater Canal, which prompted a lot of growth and interest on the channel. So that is one that I'll always be featuring on the channel, and I hope to do an update looking at the Cotswold canals this coming month, in the month of May, in a couple of days' time. I think I'm filming on the 29th, so we've only got one more day to go because there's only 30 days in April, of course. So yeah, Cotswold canals update coming soon. But there was another canal which bridged another canal we feature on the channel in terms of restoration. Now, that, of course, is the Wilts Box, which goes from Semmington to Abingdon-upon-Thames in Oxfordshire. But this canal linked the two together. So it connected up to the Thames down to the Wilts and Box in Swindon. And it doesn't get that much coverage. Now, some restoration on it is taking place. I think it's beyond the realms of possibility. It's going to be every opening any time soon because lots of it have been built on, sold off, and it was actually hard to film that first video because of the fragmented nature of it. Anyway, I did so. There'll be another part 2 which will be looking up the section north from Cricklade in Wiltshire up to Latton Basin on the Thames and Severn Canal. And a great comment on that from two people actually. Darren, who runs a channel called Somerset Man Walking, who has produced some brilliant videos of late. Darren, you are absolutely flying. Now, like me, Darren set up his channel to do walking in country areas to help with his mental health, which is pretty much why I do it, which is I would prefer really quiet areas like this to film in rather than busy urban areas, although I do touch on those as well to give you a bit of mixture of content. But this is my sort of place here in the countryside, and indeed Darren too, and I've done a collab with Darren, and that was at Ebor Gorge in the Mendip Hills, and I hope to do another one with him again in the not too distant future. But yeah, great comment from Darren. I particularly like the lock and the aqueduct. Yeah, me too. Amazing find in that aqueduct there in seemingly in the middle of nowhere, and seems to be forgotten now. So yeah, brilliant. And I'll link to Darren's channel in the description of today's video as well. And I also had a comment from Grant, who lives in Swindon, not far from Cricklade at all. Of course, that's where it met the Wilts and Berks Canal. I live in Swindon and I know the North Wilts Canal, but you found many well-hidden sections I've never seen. There is a traffic-free route from Cricklade to the River Quay and that aqueduct via the old railway line. Thanks very much for that, Grant. And that section that you talk about of the old railway line is part of the Midland and South Western Junction Railway, and that is something I do hope to feature in one of my Lost Railway walks. But part 2 of the North Wilts hopefully arriving next month, in the month of May. Thanks both for those 2 great comments. And finally for this month, it was a short bite photography video series looking at Dartmoor, particular Down Tour, which is near Burrator Reservoir. If you live in around the city of Plymouth or the town of Tavistock, you will know that area well. You can park up around Burrator, and there's loads of circular walks you can do from Burrator there. It's a beautiful, one of my favourite parts of the moor, because Dartmoor parts of it can look a bit bleak, although it's huge, open, wide spaces, but you've got the valleys there, you've got lots of woodland there, and you've got streams running down to obviously to feed the reservoir there, which is an important source of water for West Devon and the city of Plymouth. Anyway, I went from there with a relative who was over from Australia at the moment. We parked the car there, walked up to Down Tour, and I just did it as a photography one. It's been though those sort of videos don't get the higher number of views that, say, a Canal Railway one does, it seems to be doing reasonably well, and I've had some fantastic comments. Those of you who watched it really seem to like it. One from Peter: this brings back some happy memories for me doing the 10 tours back in the late 1990s. What a challenge that is, Peter. Glad it brought back some memories from you. And Anita, who runs a channel called I'm a Dutch Kiwi. We had a wee short drive through Dartmoor and a walk on the moors. It's always intrigued me. Now I've also seen the prison at Princetown too, so that was also a thing from my youth that I wanted to see. Great to see the stones as well. So mystical, I guess. I don't think we'll ever find out the reasons for those, will we? Thanks both for your great comments. One of the things I really like to see at this time of the year, as we go from April into May to mid-spring now, heading on into summer, it certainly feels like summer with the temperature today, is horse chestnut trees, and these are coming into flower around about now. Now, if you've never done this for yourself, have a look at the flowers on a horse chestnut tree. Sometimes you can take them for granted if you're like on a bike or driving a car and you see one out in flower and think, oh, that's okay. Have a look at them in detail. It's incredible, absolutely incredible flowers. They are absolutely stunningly beautiful, and like a lot of time I think they get taken for granted, but it's one of my favourite things to see out in flower. In terms of looking forward to things as well, because obviously they're going to be juicing their fruits and nuts to create seeds to produce more trees, hopefully. Great to see this one here at Frenchay on the village green, is that there'll be lots of videos happening for the month of May, well hopefully, all being well. And the next one, probably be after this one, will be Holywell Bay, which is in Cornwall, which I filmed the other day. Went down there. That was great place to that. I got there, it was a little bit foggy and misty when I arrived. Got there at 5:30, so I filmed a video there walking along the coast in the direction of Faringdon. So that'll be coming up soon. Also, as I previously mentioned, I'll be getting out the video that I did with Louise from South West Sundays from Taunton to Bridgewater, walking along the canal there. So hopefully that'll be happening. There'll be a heritage one in May, looking at somewhere in Steam. Probably one we've not featured on the channel before, so look out for that. Cotswold walks will be coming up, and I do hope to do a return to the Geo Parkway, and all being well to throw in a bit of coast again as well as Holywell Bay. So lots of things happening on the channel. There'll probably be a couple of short bites, bit of photography as well, and who knows what else during the month of May. Anything can happen really. I don't have a specific, I have a plan of a few things that I'm going to do, but I don't have a hard and fast plan. So sometimes I feel inspired to make this, that and the other, so that just happens, and hopefully that will make the videos better by doing that way, by just planning things down to the nth detail. It loses a bit of a spark and creativity in it. So before I go, the other thing I'd like to mention is about my Facebook group, which has been going from strength to strength. It was actually Louise's idea. She set hers up on her channel, South West Sundays. In one of the early days of her doing her channel, I think she'd been doing YouTube about 6 months, and then she suggested to me about it. I must admit I was a little bit apprehensive at first. Well, now I'm glad I did. Both of our Facebook groups are doing really, really well, and it's good to see lots of people putting photographs and video clips on my Facebook group from all over the wider West Country. It's fantastic to see that. So yeah, please do that if you're a member of that. If you're not sure what on earth I'm talking about, go along to Facebook and tap in Westcountry, that's all one word, then space Wanderings. You'll find my group there. Just request to join, I can invite you in, then you can post your own photographs and video clips across the wider West Country. And it's good to see people reacting with each other, or interacting with each other, should I say, to their photographs, and people commenting on it and giving suggestions. You can also comment on there, like say you've been for a meal somewhere, a nice pub, restaurant, or a location, or a walk, or accommodation anywhere in the West Country that you've particularly enjoyed and you think other members of the group would enjoy, then put them on there as well. So that would be absolutely great. Final thing to mention is to do with my YouTube channel. As some of you may not be aware of this, particularly if you watch my videos on a smart TV, which is obviously connected up to the internet. If you do it that way, you may not be aware of all the facilities available on YouTube channel, or indeed anybody's YouTube channel. And one of the things that I do is to have playlists, both myself and Louise on South West Sundays. We've created playlists of all the counties that we cover in the area, the wider area that we cover. So if you want just content from Cornwall, you go into my channel and you'll see under playlist, you'll see one there specifically for Cornwall. On all of my videos about or from the county of Cornwall, you'll find there. Similarly, places in Devon, Somerset, Gloucestershire, etc, etc. There's also separate ones for my monthly vlogs and separate ones for railways and another one for canals. And if those are specific interests to you, you'll find all those grouped together there. But you'll probably need to do that more on a laptop or a phone rather than a smart TV, because it's harder to find it on. So I think it's possible you can do, but it's a bit more difficult to find on a smart TV, but you need to find the channel. You'll see my little logo there and face, and then just click on that, and then you need to go into the channel to find it on a smart TV, and then it'll break it all down there. But that's just a top tip, and that applies to any YouTube channel you'll find. Often creators will have curated playlists for different sort of topics and aspects that they cover on their channel. Hope you find that useful, and hope you enjoy the monthly vlog today here from the beautiful village of Frenchay, near the city of Bristol, but in the county of South Gloucestershire. It's a lovely, lovely place. If you've never visited Frenchay, I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's fantastic. Hope to see you on Westcountry Wanderings again. Thanks very much for watching today. Indeed, if you watch any of my videos from the month of April, hope to see you back again in May. Take care. All the best for now. Bye bye.